Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Nothing brings us together like Eggland's best eggs. Always so fresh and delicious. Plus superior nutrition like 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat compared to ordinary eggs. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Season 6 is here. That's right, we're talking about Carrie's. Carrie, but with an S at the end, and then you make a dollar sign out of it to represent 2002 and 2013 on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from beautiful Chamberlain, Maine. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the thing that no one else does, characters. We're going to talk about all the gory details of both 2002 and 2013's Carrie, in the hopes that a high school senior's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we might make at their expense. And there is only one person I trust to crop me out of the video that proves I was bullying a girl for having a period. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Well, you got to take those editing skills and put them to some sort of good use.
That's right. I've been learning CapCut. I'm what the kids call a hyphenate. I don't think any kids refer.
You're a content creator.
Yeah, sure. I'm creating content like no one's business. Now, I don't want to scare you, Gina, but this is the start of season 6. We are going to be discussing multiple Stephen King entries as opposed to a singular horror franchise specifically. So we're going to get a lot of variety here, but I really don't want to scare you by the fact that we're not alone. That's right. We have special guests. You may know them from their work on Bloody Disgusting and, of course, for their fantastic podcast, Horror Queers. But I'm also proud to call them returning champions to our show, the ones, the onlys, Joe Lipsett and Trace Thurman. How are you doing today, boys?
Hello. Yes, the S in Horror Queers is also for dollar signs.
Well, so
As
is the
well
S
it should be.
Well, so is the S in Carries, apparently.
Right? Yes.
Although,
Yes.
did these make much money? Well, we'll talk about it.
Well, I mean, one really wasn't
couldn't make money.
directly a money-making effort because it aired on TV, but its ratings were good. Like, it did well for its time, but we'll get into the aftermath. And 2013 made money. I mean, it didn't lose a ton.
There we go.
But it wasn't such a blockbuster that everyone was like, we got to make more of these. That would happen about 4 years later with Stephen King's It. So, that being said, we usually do not cover 2 movies on this show. We like to give, once upon a time, we'd break a movie into multiple parts, for Christ's sakes. Mm-hmm. But since we have covered Carrie 1976 and its relationship to the Stephen King novel in depth, and we will have re-released that episode before this. I thought it might be opportune to, since these movies don't change the main thrust for the most part, or massively change the dynamic of the Carrie narrative, but it is in the details that they're different. I thought we might have a bit of a discussion concerning how they differ and how they are similar. So why don't we start with 2002 and Trace, if I'm remembering correctly, you are a fan to a degree.
Well, in the sense that I feel like I always hear people talk a lot of shit about the 2002 one. And while I do think it is the weakest entry, mostly from a production standpoint, this movie looks horrendous.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah.
I to the point where I didn't remember how it looked. And I think I'd revisited this once more since 2002, because I was 13 when this came out. And I think I was like, my mom was taking me to go see my sister to dance class. And I was in like the room with all the other brothers who didn't dance. And I put on Carrie for all these like little boys to watch. Because I really wanted to see it.
Sure.
Because I couldn't watch the 1976 one because it was rated R. But I think that the 2002 one has a lot going for it. I do like a lot of Brian Fuller's script, even though some of it is has not aged well. I think Angela Bettis is a really good Carrie. I do think she's better than Chloe Grace Moretz, and only because she looks the part more than I think Chloe Grace Moretz does. I don't know. There are some additions or maybe more book holdovers in the 2002 one that I like. Like, I love the characterization of Miss Desjardins, and I love that we don't kill her in this movie.
Yeah.
But things like that.
I think there are arguments to be made here. The argument on production that's not even an argument. That's an objective fact. It is. I will grant you that almost every movie suffers in comparison to the way Brian DePalma shoots a movie, and it cannot really be helped. The fact that the 02 version looks like it was shot on an iPhone 3 by someone in the midst of their DTs. It is less of a visual feast and more of an eyesore. But that is not something we can change. I don't believe is directed particularly well.
No.
But that said, where its advantages are individual performances, and I feel like the additions from the book that it chooses here and there. There are some that I think they're not executed to their full ability and therefore become slight liabilities, but that's that. How about you, Joe?
So this was a first-time watch for me. I had heard Trace talk about it a couple of times because we have also covered Carrie from 1976, and we had a bunch of conversations when the Mike Flanagan series was announced. So we can all look forward to a new rendition coming in the next year or so. Yeah. But I mean, I think it was principally in relationship to that announcement, in part because everybody just sort of fell over themselves saying, oh my God, what are we going to do? Because we've already got 3 versions of this and none of them do anything different than the DePalma version. But it was interesting to watch this 2002 version for the first time because, the book holdovers definitely do add something a little bit unique, and it gives me a bit of an insight into where you could hypothetically expand this. Like, I was fascinated to hear that this was, desired to be a backdoor pilot, and then the pilot was never picked up, so we just get a movie. But you can see some of the potential there. Like, there's storytelling opportunities in which you could expand upon in this world.
But that being said, Joe, I agree with you. If you had a telekinetic teen who's A-teaming it across the United States with a different pregnant teen, yes, there's potential there, but how it damages in my mind the overall story arc of Carrie White is not something we can just walk away from. This sort of like, we've all made mistakes. Mistakes generally do not have body counts in the hundreds.
Well, but I think, though, that's where the whole, is Carrie intentionally doing all of this, or is she in a fugue state during the prom scene? Like, I think that's always been, to me, an ambiguous answer that I've always been fascinated by.
And here, the answer is concrete. We get confirmation that Carrie does not remember at all what she was doing. So in some ways, yes, it doesn't excuse her, but it maybe gives her an out.
I mean, look, I'm sorry. Like, a lot of these people deserve to die. in every iteration of Carrie, a lot of these people deserve to die. And were there a lot of innocents killed? Yes. But you know what? They're bystanders.
I'm just saying, I like Helen.
Collateral damage.
Well,
You would like a Carrie White surgical strike is what you're calling
All
for.
of these people,
Yes.
if they weren't direct bulliers of Carrie, they watched this. Everyone knew who Carrie White was. And so, sorry about it. Like, don't go to prom.
So we believe that the Carrie White has a right to tear down the system and that there's going to be casualties along the way that we're just simply going to have to accept.
Why are we nitpicking this and we go gaga over any other vigilante in a comic book?
Well, we're really going to get into it because I would denote that the major difference for any Carrie moving forward, and it starts in 02 and it really comes to the fore in 2013, is that these are Carries post-Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
These are post-school shooter teens, being taken out on their high school grounds, and how much the various renditions of the story engage with that is something that needs to be discussed, and we shall. 02 takes the sort of fugue state thing that is really a part of 76, and 2013 is like, actually, she knows exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that makes it better.
I think it makes it fun. I mean, look, I'm just going to come out and say this right now. Like, the reason I can never wipe away the 2013 one, which I think is a totally fine movie.
Here we go.
Its biggest crime is that it just, like, it does nothing new. Even Julianne Moore's, like, Margaret White, it's like, well, we got, like, the big caricature one from Piper Laurie, and then we got the more subdued one from Richard Clarkson. So, like, Julianne Moore
There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, it's kind of in-between thing that's fine, but not really memorable. But the one thing the 2013 one has going for it is the death of Chris Hartigans. That I've always felt that Chris's death is such a fucking wash, like a wash of a death, and both versions of the 76 one and the 2002 one. So getting to watch Carrie not only hurt her, but then like watch her die excruciatingly slowly as she has her face shoved through this windshield. Oh, that to me like is worth the movie's worth the watch for that scene.
Well, let's put a pin in Chris Hartigan, because I think that is another thing that changes vastly over various times. And I feel like there are sometimes when Chris's rise to the occasion and when they fall below the radar. Gina Radcliffe, we have not gone to you. Your opinions are valid and must be heard. And I want to know what you thought overall of 2002's Carrie.
I'm going to be a little bit of the outlier so far and say that I don't actually care for it. This is also a first time watch for me. And my two primary issues are I do not like that ending.
Yeah,
I think it is I said to Patrick earlier, I referred it both to as Highway to Heaven, but it's Carrie, or Thelma and Louise, but it's Carrie and Sue.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Although you're selling me again on it, Gina.
But it's also not, because Sue's like, bye.
I think if Thelma and Louise drive off a cliff and Carrie is able to levitate it, now you got a story.
I think that the overall story of Carrie works much more effectively when it's a tragedy. When everybody dies, you have Tommy is the sacrificial lamb, and you have Sue is just sort of the lone survivor who is both scapegoated and traumatized by the event. I think that it is a much more effective story in that regard.
Yeah.
And I also, I really like Angela Bettis as an actress. The problem is that she's so imprinted on me as May.
It's hard to read her as anything else.
Yeah, that I had the same kind of issue with her as Carrie that Stephen King had with Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. And from the minute it's like, oh, this is not somebody who not necessarily I don't sympathize with her, but she comes off as a little too creepy. Whereas,
I disagree. I
just, I don't know. It's just like, I can't see her as anything else but May. And also, I think she's not a very convincing teenager.
Well, that's not to be helped. I don't. When it comes to like With the exception of one person, I don't think there are any teenagers in any of the adaptations of it. And there's a reason why, because there's a bunch of material in here that is not suitable to using real teenagers in that regard. I will say she reads more 28 than she reads 18. And that's just probably not helped by the Star Trek director who is doing this in a filter that just defies the imagination. Like
the Vaseline budget on this movie.
Even in comparison to SyFy originals, this looks bad.
No, I'm so glad you said that, because I was like, even if you told me, okay, 2002 NBC miniseries, I have a pretty good idea of what that looks like. And this somehow looks worse.
It does. It just simply does. I don't think this guy was such a visual genius. I think he was a plug and play guy who would work within systems. And now he's creating a visual language for a TV movie / pilot. And that visual language is everything's kind of white, like an episode of The View.
Or as Trey said, Dutch Angle. Like this could just be called Dutch Angle the movie.
Like there are so many Batman villain layers in Chamberlain, Maine. I was unaware that just the Penguin also walks the halls of that high school.
I think what he was trying to do, and I'm not even trying to be generous here, I think he was like, okay, we're going to get like the major Dutch angle, like the most angled Dutch angle is going to be at the end, and I'm going to build up to it as the movie goes on. So it's like we start
like baby Dutch angles.
Yeah, he's like where the film is off angle just by a little bit, and then I feel like it just gets more and more angled as the film goes on.
You are being very generous to this.
Help! I'm tipping over as the movie plays.
Oh, I'm not saying it works or it's good. I'm just saying to me that's a very surface level approach to the technique of the Dutch angle.
Okay, sure. As we've brought up, Hannibal's Brian Fuller is a part of this. He's another, talent that emerges out of Star Trek. So it's not like, no one can come out of Star Trek and not have a voice or do something interesting. He obviously does. And then he gets fired for it. But this also introduces Fuller to the concept of an international co-production, which is something that Hannibal would employ to stay on the air for as long as it did, because it cost NBC next to nothing to make as a result. But the element that I had not known, and we've talked about here, is that the rights holder, MGM, viewed this as a possible backdoor pilot, which is one of the driving factors behind not killing off Carrie White at the end. Although Fuller, in interviews in the lead up, this promotional run up to its airing, is kind of like, there's an opportunity here. Like, I feel so sorry for her. How can we possibly punish her on that level? And it's kind of like, Brian, you know why. You know why, man. you know why. So I on a language basis, there's a lot to shout out for Carrie. On a story basis, I think the driving force behind this was, hey, we're going to have more runway and real estate to cover material that the 76 version either didn't want to, did not have the special effects to create. We're going to have more time to do shit. So you get the aftermath investigation that sort of harkens to the epistolatory nature of the book. You get Chris Hartigan's dad trying to lawyer her back into the prom, which is a scene I really like from the book. And what I would say, I liken both the 03 and 13 interpretations of. Yep. And then you have the bikini meteor shower incident, which was filmed for 13, but it was not in the final cut. And here is executed in a Birdemic level of special effects grandeur.
My God. Some of these, I mean, the CGI of some of the floating furniture during the prom scene,
not good.
It's something.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at this prom scene, and like the shaking, it honestly looks like the Star Trek style shaking the camera to make it look like the room is shaking.
I mean, a lot of this movie, in particular, the 02 version, is shot as if Jason Bourne is trying to beat his way to the final boss.
I thought it was really weird that the one CGI effect that stood out to me, where I was like, oh, that doesn't look like absolute ass, is when the water at Carrie's feet, like,
that looks so good.
I was like, that looks decent.
Yeah. That looks like a regular sci-fi series good.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as a compliment because I think you can visualize that. It's a simple thing, but it means a lot. You don't have to see it with every step or anything. You just give one good example of it, and it allows your brain to go, oh, she's moving the water out of the way so she doesn't get electrocuted. I get it. That's I'm not looking for fucking reality here, right? I don't need to believe that dinosaurs exist. I just need to have a couple of things that really, really work. And emotionally, the bikini meteor shower incident, at least its inclusion allows you to see how willing Margaret is to keep Carrie sheltered from secular reality. I don't know that they're emotionally executed at a level above the special effects.
Yeah.
I do believe that, these novel-specific touches feel like ways to zag an iconic book and movie that are very simple, straight lines. And so I get the idea behind it, but you kind of have to wonder to what degree do they really elevate this depiction of the story?
Right.
Nothing brings us together like Eggland's best eggs. Always so fresh and delicious. Plus superior nutrition like 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat compared to ordinary eggs. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.
Hey y'all, life's journey is filled with change, growth, and exciting new chapters. Whether you're welcoming a new family member, stepping into a new city, or chasing after your biggest dreams, you need a ride that's built with more space for the grand challenges ahead. The Toyota Grand Highlander is made for those who embrace every twist and turn. With advanced safety features, innovative tech, and a bold, sophisticated design, it's the SUV that adapts with you with room to spare. This spacious beauty seats up to 8, gives you up to 97.5 cubic feet of cargo space, and has a diverse engine lineup, available in gas or hybrid options, including the powerful 362 horsepower Hybrid Max. Plus, available all-wheel drive means you'll have confidence no matter where life takes you. Ready to take on your dreams? The Grand Highlander is more than a vehicle. It's your partner in embracing all life throws at you. From daily routines to unexpected adventures, it's up for every grand challenge. Learn more at toyota.com/Grand Highlander. Toyota, let's go places.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
I think some of the driving factors behind let's do this now is you have Angela Bettis and you have Patricia Clarkson. And I think their abilities within this movie are interesting because Bettis is going for, I have bugs under my skin, and Patricia Clarkson is going for, I'm not going loony. I'm so buttoned up that when I do explode, it's going to really matter.
She was definitely the most interesting performance of this film for me because we're so familiar with Piper Laurie's performance. This feels like we've gone 180 the other way.
Yeah.
And I really liked its calmness. You know, it made me wish she was in a better movie so that we could actually appreciate it 100% as opposed to just saying, oh, wow, she's really good. The rest of this is iffy to not good.
it kind of, really makes the rest of it even weaker by comparison.
I think some of it is, as Joe said, like, if this was presented in a way that was as dynamic and as interesting as what DePalma does, and I would say in the 13 version, there's a bit more verve behind the camera. It's certainly photographed better. That you would get a lot more of the nuances here. But this is primarily photographed for, it still has to fit in a 4x3 frame because not everyone has a widescreen TV yet. And therefore, it's flat.
Like, if you had told me that certain sections of this were a stage production that Angela Bettis and Patricia Clarkson were in, and I'm like, hey, I watched a bunch of movies that look like we just set up a tripod and walked away and came back 2 hours later and printed it. But, like, the scene where Carrie finally tells her mother that she's going to go to the prom. And then we like flip that giant fucking dining room table and it crashes right in front of Mama. I was like, this is really good stuff. And I hate the way it is shot because it is so static. There's zero energy. Like someone did these two actresses dirty.
I would agree with you to a certain degree. I that's where, Gina, I'm kind of with you on Bettis's sort of, she's so weird. Like she's having petite grand mal seizures in algebra.
Yeah.
And everyone else just like, fucking Tuesday. So it's one thing when Carrie has a target on her back. It's another thing when you start painting it yourself.
Yeah, I think that and this is, again, not a problem with Bettis's performance. Again, it's a problem with direction.
Sure.
In that the director does not trust the audience to understand what's happening.
Oh no, right. He does not.
No. Yeah.
You have like you have Sissy. She gets a little uneasy looking. Her eyes get wide. But you get what's happening to her. Here it's like, well, you better make it seem like someone's electrocuting you right now, because
for
otherwise,
5 minutes.
right? Because otherwise, the audience isn't going to know that that something strange is happening to you.
Yes, I do think there's a lack of trust from a direction standpoint that people just aren't going to get it unless we really tell them. That being said, not everyone is up to that particular task. Someone who falls very in the middle here for me is Sue Snell.
Ooh,
I just don't think she's helped with more time. There's a level of snark to this character that I get. You're trying to make your mark on it, but it almost makes her
unsympathetic.
Yes, which is a bummer.
It leaves a little more of a gray area. It's interesting because I've been doing a little bit of writing on Carrie. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it or not, but a lot of modern audiences come to the 76 movie unsure if Sue and Tommy were actually in on the prank the whole time.
Really?
And I am as baffled as you are.
Are they watching this movie?
I don't know. But they are, because they can't understand. I think it's more they don't understand why Tommy would agree to go along with this.
Because he's a nice guy.
Because he's a nice guy. And,
yes.
And I think the problem is that the later incarnations of him don't really care much about Tommy as a character.
No.
So, he's just sort of the guy but he's, a major character in the book.
I actually think that this 2002 one, though, probably serves Tommy the best. And if only in the sense that we get more conversations between Tommy and Sue, between Tommy and Carrie even, that I don't know. I find a lot of the Tommy additions in the 2002 one give me some of the catharsis that I wanted from the other films that I don't get because he dies.
Right.
I mean, he dies here, obviously, too, but we get more from him.
Trace, I absolutely agree. On the page, Tommy is written better. The problem that we have here is that we've cast a Tommy who I'm going to be generous here, gives potato energy.
Oh, I disagree. I like Tobias Miller as this. And I will confess, I probably have a soft spot for more of the people in this cast because this is also an aggressively Canadian cast. Like, this was so obviously shot in Vancouver. Nothing has ever felt more Vancouver than this cast. So I've seen this guy in probably 6 different things that you folks are like,
a whole 6?
I'm sorry, what?
I mean, I'm right there with you, just on a Catherine Isabel and Jalen Simmons side.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Like, I have seen them in a ton of stuff, but when it comes to Tommy in particular, his unmolded lump of clay does not come off like a prize or a goal or a win. Tommy has to possess a vein of decency that Sue exploits for her purposes and Carrie revels in as safe. And this Tommy, and I don't believe it's the script, I do believe it is casting and direction, they don't convey that for me.
Okay. Well, but to go back to the Sue-ness of it all, though, I will say, and I think that Brian Fuller does okay with some of the dialogue here. I mean, look, I don't need the Freddie Prinze Jr. It's just like that Freddie Prinze Jr. movie reference. I don't need that.
No.
But again, that's that is over-explaining things to the audience.
100%. I will say that the scene where I was like, I don't like you, Sue, which I've never said about any incarnation of Sue Snell before, is when she does the monologue about the Last Supper versus the dogs playing poker. I was like, you sound like a fucking idiot. Shut up.
Oh, see,
Now again, is it the dialogue or is it the way the actress delivers it?
I think it's the delivery.
For me, this is a both scenario. Well, actually, maybe you're right. Maybe someone else could make this seem profound, but I think it's really stupid.
It is not particularly a well-cooked dish of a monologue. And I will say, we have to grant some of these characters they're not finished people.
Right.
Their brain stems haven't really locked in at this point. Sue doesn't know who she is to her core, and we have to grant her that grace. But I don't think what she's given to work with and how she interprets that, and certainly not how it's portrayed, does it any particular favors.
Yeah,
but
my issue
she's trying. God love her.
Well, she's trying. Yes. Yeah. And by the way, Patrick, I love this. Like, you are giving strong parent of a teenager energy here. Where you're like, let's just give them a little more time to cook. They're not quite ready to come out of the oven.
Random question though: do y'all know if y'all are going to be covering the remake, the 2009 remake of Children of the Corn that aired on SyFy?
Children of the Corn is something we've been wrestling with on this show over and over again. We now, since we've locked into Stephen King as season 6, undoubtedly we will cover it in some way. And she's in that one.
I was going to say, yeah, she's the Linda Hamilton role in the remake.
Well, she had a lane, baby.
Because here's the thing, like Candace McClure, most people are going to look at her and be familiar with her work from the Battlestar Galactica TV series, because she's one of the main actors in that. And I will argue she's not one of the stronger actors in that ensemble. Like, I don't think she's great. I think she's okay. She sometimes gets the job done. For me, the issue here is that I think because we're writing for a potential backdoor pilot, and this is going to go to series with,
we can't solve all of her problems.
Yeah, like we need to keep her a little bit interesting, but like that ends up becoming she's meaner and a bit more brittle. Like there's a moment in these Saw-esque filter interrogation room sequences where, he says, hey, these are your classmates. Like, this is your boyfriend. Why aren't you more sad? And she literally replies, we put them in the ground 2 weeks ago. We gave them funerals. What do you expect? What do you want? And I was like, damn, bitch, that is cold.
But I think, though, but a part of that, though, you have to realize, though, is she's currently hiding Carrie and waiting to get out of there so she can go send her off on her mission to save a bunch of other Carries out there.
Because it's a pilot, they have given her a mission statement to get through this rather than actually be confessional as she is in the book about her experiences, because that experience, the book, the events are over and she's being forced to somehow pry it open and make it make sense. And here she's trying to obfuscate because she does not want to be complicit in keeping Carrie White alive and out of police authorities, jail system, which I think would take her a grand total of 10 minutes to unentangle herself from.
Right.
Like, we're inching towards someone who's a Hulk level threat, and she's like, "But if I get her out of town, I don't know if that's going to work."
But just gotta get her to Florida.
And I agree with you, Gene. I think that using these interrogations, again, like the book is, they bring that back, that epistolary format, but like none of these interrogation scenes work. I don't think they add anything to the story at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually find they kind of disrupt the pacing of the film. Not that it's perfectly paced anyway, but like every time we come back to the interrogation, I'm like, why? Like, go back to the story.
Don't you want to see people pick at donuts for 2.5 hours?
Dude, that student council president, God love her.
That's, I think, one of the interesting additions, I think, to this. This is one of those characters that I find interesting to pick apart because she's a floater in between these worlds. There's no way she would make it under Chris Hartigans' sort of laser focus. But if she can vacillate between the two worlds and she could just get by enough and paint targets on other people, her weirdness will not be, set upon by the dragons that she attends school with. That I kind of like, hey, that's worthy of examination. But they're really hampering, Sue in almost every single way to hide the weenie that she's, keeping Carrie White inside of a human trafficking container.
What is this, a drum? Did we repurpose this for Hannibal every time we needed to put someone in a pit?
What about that wig, though?
Oh, my God.
All right.
The wig.
Now, let's really get into it, okay? Because here's one that I'm very interested to hear everyone's opinions on. Because Emily DeRaven's Chris, I find an utter fucking failure. And we don't need to pile on this actress here. She comes off as a fucking paper tiger. The level of menace that she delivers or that the director chooses to display is underwhelming or miscalculated. Take your pick.
My main issue, it's not even DeRaven's performance, I think, that's bothering me. I think that the film positions Billy as I think all versions have positioned Billy as like kind of abusive towards Chris. But Chris has always been a bit like,
she gives it back almost as well as he gives it.
She's a manipulator. She's trying to work that dude.
Yes, and this Chris doesn't give me that. And the one additional Chris scene that I was like, thank God this is in here, is that line whenever she's talking to Carrie and she's like, Sue practically talked me into getting Botox, and Carrie's retort is, maybe she thought you needed it. Like, that was really good. You could tell a gay man wrote that line, but making Billy kind of this caricature of an abusive boyfriend, it takes away a lot of Chris's agency as a villain in this version for me.
Yeah. I agree. And it allows Billy in this particular version to take the reins.
Yes, and he didn't know Carrie White.
He doesn't even go here.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing about Billy Nolan is he is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
He's a very typical, Stephen King meat-headed villain.
Right.
Where, he's like, he walked out of a time machine from 1958. And, he's got this, rich daddy's girlfriend who, likes being pushed around, and they have this sort of mutually toxic relationship. And yeah, you're right that that's completely removed from this.
Mm-hmm. And as a result, things begin to feel like he is at behind the wheel on a bunch of this stuff, as opposed to Chris knowing that Billy is a hammer and she just needs to aim him at the Carrie nail.
The biggest problem actually is that Chris hesitates to pull the rope to drop the blood.
Oh my God. And then 2 minutes later, she finally gets it.
Well, but she only gets it after Billy gives her some fucking asshole motivational speech. And I'm like, no. Chris Hartigans does not hesitate to pull this fucking thing.
Yes. I think this is a true miscalculation of what Chris is. Because to a certain degree, Carrie is cursed, and she's made worse by the fact that she's surrounded by bored assholes who live for fucking with her. They need it. Carrie is their outlet to rage against comfortable lives. And even people with souls are not immune from it, because when Miss Desjardins and Miss Collins in the 76 version, they feel it by osmosis after the plug it up moment. They're like, holy shit, touch grass. And they smack the fuck out of Carrie, because they're like, how can someone I know walks these hallways not be in touch with something as normal and rational as women have periods? Wow. And it makes them so angry. And then they're repulsed by how angry it makes them after the fact. That's how they display that they're normal human beings with souls. Whereas Emily DeRaven's Chris is just simply not malicious enough. Mm-hmm. That character has to display a level of manipulation that, at least as far as we're shown, she's incapable of achieving, and that makes her a weaker villain overall, when it shouldn't be hard to make these people look like a-holes.
Because she's passive, though. She's the maybe not completely passive, but she is the most passive version of Chris that we've seen in these 3 films.
Yes.
And keeping with everything else about this being a made-for-TV movie, it's restrained,
Right.
and it's not interesting when it's restrained.
Well, I guess because this is the only iteration of this story where I feel like the film is sometimes asking me to relate to Chris Hartigans.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a problem.
It's a problem if she can't explain herself. It is a problem that, weirdly enough, I guess I'll enter this into the fray. Not only we don't have enough going on. It's something the musical seems to do rather well. Has anyone else besides me seen the musical version of Carrie?
Not.
I'm not in its entirety. I've seen plenty of clips of it.
Gina, have you seen the Riverdale version? That's what we're asking.
No, I've not seen the Riverdale version. I know it exists, but I have not seen it.
Riverdale, I think the poster for that also has our tagline on it. We have so many Riverdale taglines. I refuse to let anyone ever come down against Riverdale, which just tried to be the most unhinged thing on television, and for the most part achieved it. I love that thing. So in the musical, everyone, because of song, they're allowed to really, get to the heart of their character or their philosophy in life. And Chris is one of those characters, and Sue also. You really get to explore what their motivations are. It's hard to confuse what those things are in the musical, because through song, they really get to explain themselves. Right. And right now, in my lineup, it is 76 musical, and then 2013 and 2002.
Okay.
Well, no, I actually, that's fascinating. I've never listened to the book. I definitely seen the Riverdale version, Joe, but that's not an accurate representation. But the one thing I'm always missing from even DePalma's version, it's been too long since I've read King's book, so I can't really speak to it, but is just, these extra conversations, getting to know how some of these people feel, because I feel like there are so many, there's a lot of moments in DePalma's film where you're just if you just spoke to this person once and had a conversation with them, I miss so much of that. So if the musical actually gives me a fragment of that, I'm very
They at least
curious.
speak to the audience, right? Because there's this moment, when you hear the piano in the background, you're like, okay, it's song time. And then that person says, but in my heart, that shit like that. And I have seen clips of the 80s version of it, which seems fucking insane.
Oh no.
Well, but you know what? You know what's good about the 80s 80s musical version? Overweight Carrie.
There we go.
There we go.
And so far.
That brings us to the question: Are we ever going to get one? And that would mean you'd need another version of fucking Carrie, which,
no,
God
keep
love
coming.
him.
We're not gonna get one, because it even back in the 76 version, it is plainly said the audience will not empathize with an overweight Carrie.
But I know that we've heard some casting rumors for Flanagan's version, but do we not think that's even a possibility?
He's already cast her.
He's already cast her.
She's cast.
And she is a thin actress.
Okay. Well, I guess this is one of those, like, in Flanagan I trust, where I'm like, I feel like he's gonna pull a Haunting of Hill House with that Carrie, so I'm intrigued to see what he does with it. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if anybody can do a decent job with it, it'll be him.
It's gonna have to be different, though. That's the thing, is like, and I don't think that Flanagan at this point is going to adapt this verbatim.
No. My guess is he's going to go a lot into Margaret's life before Carrie was born, because I mean that's a whole. Like in terms of how she and the 2013 gets
they give mention,
this,
right?
She gives birth at home by herself. She's got this, and the book gets into a little bit of her life before Carrie. So I think there's probably going to be some of that. I think he's going to get, if my guess is correct, he's going to get a lot into the fact that it's hereditary and how the book ends with, another little girl being born with the same powers.
Right.
So I think he's going to lean heavily into that. And again, I'm completely guessing at this.
Do you think he's going to maybe have each episode be a day in the week before prom, so that we can be like, the Tuesday before prom, the Wednesday before prom?
This is a Flanagan we trust scenario, because of all the properties, this was the one that really threw me for a loop in terms of this is something I got to stretch out. When you have two versions of this movie that are ostensibly stretched out even by minutes, and you're kind of like, do you need it? Because there's no evidence you do.
What happens if he does something similar to the fall of the House of Usher, where the prom happens in like the second or third episode? Because that Halloween, the Mask of the Red Death episode on the fall of the House of Usher happens very early. And a lot of people singled it out as, holy shit, this is going big. We're just brutally killing a bunch of people. And I think it'd be super interesting if, like, okay, we're going to seriesize this. Let's play with the timing.
Yeah, you really, particularly if you're drawing in people who aren't super familiar with the source material, like you're really going to need to give them something right from the get-go.
Who is not familiar with the source material?
It's shorthand.
That was only like partially rhetorical. Like I get it, but also like I feel like maybe not King's novel, but it's like if people hear, oh yeah, that movie Carrie, that somehow somewhere in their brain prom comes to their mind. Like at least that
they know a bloody woman walks around with flames behind her, and people explode and people are killed at a prom. It's just shorthand. It's cultural osmosis gets down to them. If I asked my kid who Carrie is, he's not seen the movie. He's only seen the DVD cover, and I promise you, he can tell you the story of Carrie.
Right. But to I guess, to end the Flanagan conversation, I just feel like he's going to have to either deviate or like do, he's not going to be adapting this in the way we think he is.
I have to assume, because there's not enough story here to last 6 to 8 episodes.
No.
There just isn't. So you're going to have to mine territory that isn't there. And that's where you get into, hey, I can't prejudge this thing. He will tell me a story and I'll either like it or I don't. Speaking of things I either like or I don't, I like Catherine Isabel. I'm just going to fucking cop to it.
That has nothing to do with the character and everything to do with the actor.
Yes.
Hey, but you know what, though? She plays the Norma role, but her name isn't Norma in this movie. What's her name in this movie?
She's Tina, folks.
She is Normaing the fuck out of this role, and she's the one who knows what the fucking assignment is. She is filling in for all the stuff we want out of the villain department.
Agree. Honestly, the way she hurriedly rushes to the girls during the period scene, I was like, this is clever. Like, she's like a little girl, like, oh my God, you guys!
All that's missing is the rainbow hat. She gets it. And I honestly wish she should have been Chris.
Yeah.
Swap.
You slot her into Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
I get it. Emily, I don't know. Emily DeRaven wasn't even on fucking Lost at this point.
Yeah, this is pre-Lost. I don't know what. And she was Australian. Is Australian.
No, she gave it up for Lent. Now she's something different.
Wasn't she on Roswell or something?
Oh my God, she was Tess on Roswell.
Yeah.
It's
not a good role either. But
what does she do now? I mean, sorry. That's very. I'm not a mean person, but.
Well, aren't you? Hey, Chris, how you doing over there?
No, but I mean, seriously, like she was Belle on Once Upon a Time, terrible. But like, what has she done? Like, what career has she really done?
I think it's more, has she found a role that actually well suits her acting capacity? Like, I do think that's a bit of part of the problem, especially of this 2002. And I don't know, maybe we switch after this because it's starting to feel like we're piling on. But I think a lot of these people just feel slightly out of their depth.
People suffer from it girl status, right? And her it girl status did not last as long. It did not burn as brightly, but she suffers the way so many people do suffer, where everyone goes, hey, I can see that face lead in a show, in a movie, it works for me. And then she gets up there and you're like, not like this. Actually, she's more of a character person and she has a lane that isn't this.
Maybe like still photography. She's got a beautiful look to her. It's just she doesn't really embody characters particularly well. I think that's why she works so well as Claire on Lost, because she wasn't asked to do much more than be the pregnant lady.
It's understandable.
Always so fresh, delicious, and nutritious, Eggland's Best Eggs fuel the body with 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat compared to ordinary eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.
Hey y'all, life's journey is filled with change, growth, and exciting new chapters. Whether you're welcoming a new family member, stepping into a new city, or chasing after your biggest dreams, you need a ride that's built with more space for the grand challenges ahead. The Toyota Grand Highlander is made for those who embrace every twist and turn. With advanced safety features, innovative tech, and a bold, sophisticated design, it's the SUV that adapts with you with room to spare. This spacious beauty seats up to 8, gives you up to 97.5 cubic feet of cargo space, and has a diverse engine lineup, available in gas or hybrid options, including the powerful 362 horsepower Hybrid Max. Plus, available all-wheel drive means you'll have confidence no matter where life takes you. Ready to take on your dreams? The Grand Highlander is more than a vehicle. It's your partner in embracing all life throws at you. From daily routines to unexpected adventures, it's up for every grand challenge. Learn more at toyota.com/Grand Highlander. Toyota, let's go places.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Before we fully shift over to 2013, does anyone have thoughts on Rena Sofer's Miss Yesterday?
Oh, I love her.
I do too. I actually really, maybe it's because I always hate the fact that like she has to die in the 76 version, but like the scene when she gets back at these girls and throws the tampon, this is my favorite of the gym teacher like clap back at the girls scenes in this movie, and I think that's why I'm still like, but it's not that bad, you guys.
You don't have to justify your genuine emotional reaction to the movie. I wholeheartedly believe it. It doesn't matter that when I look at it, every other guy seems to look like the reserve bass player for Sum 41. That's just what it is at the time.
Also Canadian, so fair.
The bras have never been more pushed up than they are in this movie. Like the Victoria's Secret budget must have been through the fucking roof. There are things in this that just work. Rena Sofer I will forever have a soft spot for her because she is a Days of Our Lives vet. so she just gets a fucking pass for me. And what I enjoy are the additive elements that she brings to it. She never really reaches the pure rage of Betty Buckley, but I don't know that she's given the opportunity. Right. And her idea of this is to level with them. I'm going to level with you here. What you're doing is shitty, and it works.
Ooh, I mean, like, truthfully, her like, if you think I'm operating in teacher mode right now, you are sadly mistaken. I was like, hit her.
Well, and I would say on the softer side, her moment with Carrie at the actual prom, I do think that this is unfortunately one of those elements that has not aged well, where it's kind of like, oh, all these people, they're going to be fat. They're going to be ugly. Yeah. And I was just like, that doesn't make them bad people. You can be fat and ugly and still be a nice person. So I was like,
these people aren't.
Okay.
These people are not.
But this idea that, you know, like, it felt akin to the kinds of things that Tommy's trying to do before we go into the prom, where it's like, let's take a moment. This is going to be fun. We can enjoy ourselves. But here it feels like Miss Desjardins was a Carrie, and that's how she's relating to this girl. Like, that's why she's given her so much grace and support. And it felt like just an additional little bit of insight that we don't get from the other roles in other Carries.
Yeah, I think that the Betty Buckley, Miss Collins,
yeah,
she comes off as a little more maternal, Carrie, whereas here she's sort of like a big sister / friend,
right?
Where like you have like a sister who will like beat up your bullies for you. That's sort of what this version of Miss Desjardins feels like, and I like it. I think that aspect.
Before we move on, I just want to state for the record that I feel like Chilton Simmons' version of Helen here, I think really is additive to this, because they keep Sue out of actually showing up to prom, which is a decision I like.
Right.
And it takes actually her seeing Carrie outside of her normal presentation and seeing her in a completely, her perception shifts in the way we normally see it from Sue in other versions of this.
Yeah.
It's just in a compressed format of prom. And a version of this happens in 2013 as well. And I enjoyed it for this. You really get the sense that if they just for 1 second stopped, they'd see her as a fucking human being. And it happens. And for that, I appreciate it.
That's actually what I do like about the introduction of the prom scenes, because there's, again, it's not shot well, but like everyone's heads turns. You can see everyone change their perception of Carrie when she walks into this dance, which I just really appreciate that. Again, it offers me as a viewer a catharsis that I was lacking from, not that I needed the catharsis, like I get why it's not there, but like there's just, I just love it. One last thing. I didn't know if this was something, how recently y'all have seen Carrie 2 or not, but there's a scene in Carrie 2 whenever Rachel, the Carrie stand-in, the Emily Burrow character, she goes and she's in the mall and she's getting makeup done, and one of the bully girls, Rachel Blanchard, helps her get makeup, but it's like all a ploy to get her closer to the party. But that scene is kind of remade by Brian Fuller in this movie, where Sue helps Carrie pick out some lipstick.
Right.
I didn't know if it was an actual, like, oh, I saw that and I want to do a different version of it. But I thought it was interesting that we have two of the exact same scenes in Carrie 2 and this NBC 2002.
It's wild how they all begin to blend, because there's only so many directions you go in, which makes you wonder how you're going to make a 6 to 8 episode show out of it. But we will prosecute that when it happens.
When it happens.
Down the line. 2026,
and,
I'm sure.
You know,
Anyway.
The heart-crushing scene is so poorly rendered. And then the fucking rocks. It just that part of it feels like a letdown. The pilot episode exit also doesn't help, and they're double dreams, for fuck's sake. Double dreams. No. Okay. So now let us move on to 2013, and I'm sure we'll touchstone various things of 2002 along the way. We probably will, but as I mentioned before, this is our first real look at what a post-mass shooter era Carrie is going to look like. And so I would argue that the one thing I like about most adaptations of Carrie is that the prom massacre and its resulting path of destruction that she carves into this town are not conscious acts. The person we know as Carrie White is kind of shoved into the back of the brain. We see the lizard-brained, instinct-only version of her take over, and she is like the in 2002 it is this, but in 2013 she is very conscious of what she's doing.
Is that a problem for you?
It definitely changes things because she's it's not that these people have not pushed her in this direction, but at a certain point it's kind of like, I agree they have it coming. It's another thing when she points at specific people, it puts her in a very specific light, and as a result of these outside world concerns, it almost makes this plug into a lot of King's, pre-fame book coverage between this and Rage and Long Walk, where you have a lot of very vicious interpretations of what it is to be a teenager. And so the problem I have with it isn't in its existence. I suppose the problem I have with it is in its execution here.
Yeah.
I think I would feel more similar to you if she killed Judy Greer's Miss Desjardins.
Sure. Okay.
But as it stands right now, as it always will stand in this film, she is not. So I'm kind of. I get where you're coming from, but I don't share the same issues.
I think it's more interesting, and not just because I'm tending to focus on queer readings of things, but if we look at this, we basically amplify the gay in the creative team. So we move from a queer male screenwriter for the 2002, and then we have a queer male screenwriter for this film, but then we also have a queer female director. And part of me is we made this movie in part, if you read through the whole Wikipedia page, the reason they wanted to remake this is because they considered this era to be a bullying epidemic. So then you give the reins to Carrie to hypothetically people who were bullied. I don't know. Maybe that queer rage is just alive and well in this version of Carrie.
But I'm glad that you pointed out screenwriter, though, because while, yes, Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa does have a screenwriting credit on this, the other screenwriting credit is for Lawrence D. Cohen, a.k.a. the screenwriter of the 1976 film. So this is we took that script and Aguirre-Sacasa just did a once-over on it.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not discounting that interpretation of it. It makes a whole lot of sense. But once she becomes that active of a participant, the buildup to that is that she is not, this isn't a reactive thing. This isn't something that she knows she has but can't fully control. She is like Darth Vader with this shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she literally just force chokes people.
Yeah.
And to me, it's I just kind of like when the energy just, she kind of just unleashes the energy and doesn't specifically direct it at people.
It's just happening around her.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
This is a lot more talented.
It is. That being said, I do think it's also a reaction to the shift they make within Margaret. Because Margaret in this adaptation now has much more of she's a physical threat more. Everyone else is kind of I have a psychological hold on you. But she isn't. She is very prepared to smack a bitch in this interpretation. And she has a self-harm element where in order to not participate in this godless secular world, she will destroy her own body to remain holy. And where did Carrie learn it? She learned it from you, Mom. So if that is your main primary parent example of how you deal with this world, and then you do actually gain power for yourself, this is probably how you're going to react to it. It's not without basis.
It's interesting. It feels like a different kind of religious hysteria. I know we compared Julianne Moore's performance as she's kind of going back to the Piper Laurie model, but it does feel like her religious fervor is on a slightly different, I don't know, angle, level, whatever you want to use in terms of euphemism. She's she seems way more devout than the 76 version. Like, that's why she's cutting herself.
There's an element of suffering that she has to endure. It is endurance. Life is not something that happens to you. It is something that you must suffer through to get to the other side. And the more suffering you endure, the grander your prize. And her initial desire to kill that baby comes from, this is sin. Oh, no. This is a test. If I can get through this life without killing this baby, that requires more suffering. And so that is why I will keep it alive. And all of a sudden, the motivations for this particular attack, it does start to line up. I may be challenged by it, but I would also say I like the way this edition challenges a lot of these things versus 2002.
Yeah.
And keeping it on the queer tip. So,
how dare you?
My apologies, I'm already blushing. But Chris has a closeted, lesbian friend who gets set on fire in this. And I don't believe that's a fucking accident.
She's a flamer?
Because all the other deaths of those bullies are targeted for a reason. Chris is... Her face that lives above her bed is shoved through a car window.
So good. It's so fucking good.
Those twins who will do anything to avoid Chris's wrath end up being trampled. There's all this stuff happens, and I do one. I guess I believe in them being targeted in these specific ways, and is where I bump is this other thing, but it is grounded in the script and the movie we watch. And then she also specifically spares Miss Desjardins as opposed to the 2002 version where she simply avoids the ramification via her own strength.
Refresh my memory, Patrick. In the book, because I know Miss Desjardins survives in the book, but is there a conscious moment from Carrie sparing her in the book, or is...
I believe she gets shoved out of the door by the rush of people before Carrie can truly lock it.
Just before they close.
Got it. What do we think of Judy Greer's Miss Desjardins here? And I confess, I don't feel like she made that much of an impression, which it pains me to say about Judy Greer, but I think it's the thing where I just prefer Betty Buckley's and Rena Sofer's iterations of this character.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you. She's just
there. Yeah.
I mean, she's not Gabriella Wilde as Sue Snell, who I could not even begin
there's
to
a
tell
non-editing
you what this is.
in terms of performance.
Yeah.
I don't know that it is a character thing, or she just is either not up to the task or nothing is on the page for her to do.
She's the Emily DeRaven of this movie.
Nothing is. Yeah. Anthony Elgort as Tommy gets more of a performance than Sue Snell.
I get the impression that Patrick just doesn't like the Tommies.
Well, I mean, like we touched upon this when we were talking about it in chat, Patrick. Is it, you think that the character is done poorly, or is it just, is it tainted by, the stink of Ansel Elgort?
I mean, the sex pest thing does not help.
Do you just not buy him as a nice
in
guy?
2013, before the sex pestness of it all was revealed,
he was heartthrobbing.
But again, like, if you ask me to remember anything this Tommy Ross did from this movie, I'd be hard pressed to tell you. Like, again,
it's wild that, like, listen, I like William Catt as Tommy, but for some reason nobody else has seemed to know what.
I think because they view the way Tommy is presented in 76 unique to that time period. There was a time period when there was a golden boy in your school, and everything he did was he just fell into the right path. And in these other variations, they're trying to make a Tommy for the times. But ultimately what it has to be, he just has to have a vein of decency. And Elgort has a problem portraying that on screen for the most part. It's also why he sucks in West Side Story, a film I love. But you could catapult him out of there in a fucking half second. He is a real miss for me in that one. And here.
I'm gonna be the weird like naysayer on this. I've never had an issue with Ansel Elgort's performances. I think he's totally fine in West Side Story, and again, I think in Carrie he's totally fine. He's just not memorable. Like he's not giving me anything that is memorable.
And I would say that is partially up to it is focusing on other areas. And I'm not going to complain that the women here are given more to do than guys, because I have the rest of art and time for plenty of male portrayals here. That being said, Tommy just has to be that one thing that refracts Sue and Carrie's belief here. And I do wish at some point the sort of this particular movie alludes to the fact that Chris is also pissed that other people have not gotten behind her on the Carrie White eats shit. They just have to get information behind this. And she looks at Tommy and goes, that fucker is not information. And I just wish there was one component of her being jealous of Sue and Tommy's relationship, because it is so simple but she can't do that. That's not in her makeup.
But I do like Portia Doubleday's Chris. I mean, again, like as a whole, the biggest issue with this 2013 one is there's just not enough different about this to make it stick. But it's a serviceable adaptation. And I do think that Portia Doubleday is light years above.
For sure.
From the 2002.
I mean, that's the bummer of it, is it's constantly living in a shadow of the almost exact same movie. And I do wonder, like, how can you, we can't get into the conversation of what will you do different, because it's not here and we can't decide upon that.
But okay, because I remember when this one was coming out, though, the big thing was, okay, why are we doing this? Well, we're going more for the book. You know, we're going to show more of the town's destruction. But there were always these rumors that was like, well, that was the intent. But then the studio stepped in and they kind of derailed Kimberly Pierce's vision, and they wanted it to be more like DePalma, blah, 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 blah. So I guess, Patrick and Gina, do y'all have any like insight into, I want to say what happened, but that makes it sound like this was like a clusterfuck of a movie, which is not. It's just a movie that's there, that exists. But
it feels like they walked back what the original intention was to play it safer, and that doesn't seem like it was a creative decision. It feels like it was a studio.
It's absolutely a studio-driven thing that somehow audiences would not accept variations to this story. And as such, what they take out of it
stupid and misguided
makes those other changes feel more jarring and out of place, as opposed to giving them a whole. They also just like, it has to be 90 minutes. It cannot be an hour and 40, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, right? Is I don't think we'd be having these conversations about like, well, are the performances good or are they just kind of there? Because the fact is that none of these people have an opportunity to do anything particularly new or novel, because the runtime is constantly just clipping at their heels.
And they've got to hit these touchstones. Otherwise, it won't be Carrie. And it's at that point where you just go, fucking re-release Carrie. Just put it back in theaters.
But it's like, okay, have you all heard about the alternate ending?
Yeah, I've seen that shit.
Yeah, it's like it was a weirder and creepier ending, and the studio's like, no, make it
which
like
I think it fails at. In terms of there's no Carrie ending to this. There's just more like, yeah, that's way too much power for one person in a grave, and you're like, the fuck?
And she's like, she's dead and she's still mad.
Always so fresh, delicious, and nutritious, Eggland's Best Eggs fuel the body with 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat compared to ordinary eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.
One of the hardest parts of getting older is feeling like something's off in your body, but not knowing exactly what. It's not just aging, it's often your hormones too. When they fall out of balance, everything feels off. But here's the good news. This doesn't have to be the story of your next chapter. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is an herbal formula made with science-backed ingredients designed to fine-tune your hormones by balancing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol. It helps with common issues such as hot flashes, poor sleep, low energy, bloating, and more. With over 40,000 reviews and a bottle sold every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. A survey found 86% of women lost weight, 77% saw an improved mood, and 100% felt like themselves again. Start your next chapter feeling balanced and in control. For a limited time, get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
I don't think either ending of this 2013
They're not
is
satisfying.
good. Like, neither one of them is satisfying. I think it was one of those things where when I saw this in theaters, I was like, yeah, that was fine. But I think I was just so crushingly disappointed because I think in the months leading up to the release of this film, it was very much like a, why remake Carrie? What are you doing? And we had those quotes from peers who was like, we're doing this. And you, again, like you want like this, director of Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah, like she's got the fucking goods, and clearly they just didn't trust her with it. But they still let her go out and do the PR blitz where it sounded like she was actually getting to release the film she wanted to make.
They want the glow. They can't handle the shine.
Oh, God. Well, and leave it to, I mean, again, I love Mike Flanagan, but like a straight white cisgender man. Like, okay, you can change up Carrie for us.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that she's done dirty multiple times.
Yeah.
It's not like she's not working. She does TV constantly, but she got fucked out of a movie career because MTV couldn't handle the heat on Stop Loss. And then she goes, fine, I will do a standard teen movie and I will weave what I find interesting about this into it. And the studio's like, I don't know, it's not enough like this 1976 version. It's like, well, we're not trying to do Psycho here, where we just make it beat for fucking
But
beat.
we might as well.
It should be a universal theme that can apply to any
generation.
period.
Yeah.
Because bullying is eternal.
Truly. Yeah.
It is. And whereas in this particular version, there are elements they're trying to bring up, but they also pump the brakes on. Some of it is necessary, some of it isn't. Because her being posted online for Carrie White, who doesn't have a fucking computer in her house. She doesn't have an online fucking presence.
But that's also the only addition, because I remember I was consuming all of these press interviews.
This?
Yeah, we're going to update this. This time the bullying involves like online stuff. And I was like, oh, but that's literally, that's the beginning and end of it. Like, oh, it's online. That's it. Like you don't delve into that further or even use it more.
And considering its presence is so much more felt in society in 2013. It's almost like Carrie 2.
I was going to say, we already did it in
a better
Carrie 2.
interpretation.
And that's the thing. Is like I think the interesting conversation that we haven't had is that Carrie 2 is actually a better Carrie remake than the 2 Carrie remakes we actually got.
Yeah. Ding fucking ding.
Well, you had your chance to take it, and you chose this one.
Audience has said no to Carrie 2, so we're just going to keep giving you Carrie over and over and over and over until you like
here's
it.
the thing. If Carrie 2 had have come out in place of this one, I think we'd be having very different conversations about it. But unfortunately, Kat Shea's interpretation got swallowed up in the, I fucking hate teen slasher movies, even though it is not a teen slasher film.
Also Columbine, because that was released, I think, the same year as Columbine.
Yes, that deals with the instant ramifications of it, whereas these other things are living within that world without really necessarily engaging in the story points. because one could argue the Carrie that here is walking into that prom with telekinetic automatic weapons under her.
Hell yeah, she is. It's the boys up in here.
I mean, I think it's very funny, Patrick, that you're just like, I don't know if I can reconcile with what this means for the character. And Trace and I are like, mow those motherfuckers down.
I would have taken like a fucking Chloe Grace Moretz voiceover, like, just fucking try something on me, you fucking assholes. Like, as she's walking into this prom. Which, I mean, I guess we haven't discussed Chloe Grace Moretz as Carrie. What do y'all think?
Then let's get into it, baby. This is, I understand the impulse.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this actress, and she's young and she's up and coming, and people seem to be engaged in what she brings to the table. What are movies that we have that we can get going that you can plug her into?
Stop saying plug.
And
It's on the tip. Sorry.
the queer tip as it is. So when you insert her into this, not to keep that game going, the repercussions of that is that she comes off less like someone who is bullied because she is an outsider. And part of it begins to feel like she's bullied because Chris is jealous.
Yes, sexually jealous.
Yeah. I have no problem with Chloe Moretz as an actor. I think she's a fine actor. I think she is woefully miscast in this role, and like they are not even attempting in the slightest to
ugly her up.
No,
make
she's
her
just a
look
beautiful girl.
Yeah, like they put a little bit of her, just like a little bit of hair hanging in her
I
face.
can't believe they don't just add zits to her face. Like, just that would have
She
gone a
has
long
the
way.
best skin in
that
the
would have gone a
Like,
long way.
she is glowing.
Yeah, she looks amazing.
Like Sissy is glowing in the prom scene, which makes it such a stunning moment because she is finally happy. She is finally getting a taste of fitting in and acceptance. And Chloe Moretz looks like Carrie if Carrie just walked into school after applying to a 17 cover model contest.
Yeah.
Right.
I just got back from my Mac makeover at the mall.
She's one bottle of leave-in conditioner away from being a runway. This is a problem.
Sissy Spacek is a very attractive woman, but I think, and we kind of touched on this too with the Angela Bettis of it all, but I think Sissy Spacek's body language really communicates Carrie effectively.
Right. She always looks like she's expecting someone to hit.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think for you, Gina, especially, like Angela Bettis' body language was just too far in that
too much.
direction.
Yeah,
and then Chloe Grace Moretz is like, what?
I'm having my best life.
Hey, girl.
Like I didn't know what a period was, but other than that, I'm a little tepid. But
I'm ready
other
to
than that,
fuck.
when you get to know me, it's just it begins to strain credulity in even the post sort of she's ugly. Wait. You take off her glasses world of not another teen movie.
Yeah, it's very glasses and ponytail, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They can't even commit to dirty hair. They can't commit to making her look pallid. They have to make her look, and she's a gorgeous girl. I think all of the women who have portrayed Carrie are gorgeous women that you just have to commit to a fucking direction. And they just, for whatever reason, and my guess, it is the studio going, no.
Which
we cast a gorgeous woman. She's got to look gorgeous.
But like, this isn't, God damn it. Like, this isn't Star Wars we're talking about. Like, what Carrie
toxic
fans
Carrie
out
fandom?
there are so precious about Carrie, you know?
Yeah.
Right. You say that.
Wow.
And yet
Yeah.
you say, like, it is so much worse now. But every other, presence that you meet online who says they like something, it's past tense, and they've moved directly into hating it because it's encouraged. It is a realm in which you meet like-minded individuals who can be just as toxic as you are. It's just more
Joe,
a competition.
what did I say today in our recording? It's so much easier to hate something with a group of people than to work to find love.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I could actually, I'm going to be very facetious, but I could legitimately see an interpretation of this where like we keep speculating about Mike Flanagan's version. I could see him doing a version where we don't even go to the same school as Carrie, but we decided we hate her and we just cyberbully her to the point of near suicide. That could happen. But this is where I do kind of want to circle back to something that Gina said, and we all kind of like dismissed it because the casting's already been done. But I do think, unfortunately, the reality is all you have to do is put a fat body into the role of Carrie, and you don't need her to act any which way. Like, she could be on the track team. She could be part of the yearbook staff. She could be living her best fucking life, and your Carrie story still works with a fat body at the center of this. Or a black body.
All those things are on the table because if you go through the list of Carrie things that you absolutely need for Carrie White, the vast majority of them are story and character based.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you have to have someone who is disconnected from a modern sensibility and is not wearing store-bought clothes and all that. But their race, their sexuality or their gender presentation, all of those things are up for fucking grabs because they just have to be an outsider.
Yeah, the reason I did say race, by the way, is because if folks are looking for a kind of alternative Carrie text, Tiffany D. Jackson is a YA writer, and she wrote what is basically a black Carrie book. It's like nearly the same beats. The only difference is that she is like basically trying to pass for white because her father is embarrassed that he slept with a black woman. And
is it a period piece?
No, it's like contemporary.
Wow.
It's set in a small southern town in the States, but it's really interesting.
I'm running, not walking to
the library.
Put that in my notes.
It's called The Weight of Blood, by the way.
Fantastic. I feel like in this particular interpretation, you have actors who are just of an age to have a distance from it to truly portray it. That being said, you have a Billy who I think has a lot of menace to it, and I really enjoy that from him. He also is a little bit more in the driver's seat than I would like. I want more tension between him and Chris of who is in charge of being the worst. I think the actors are capable of it, but again, I do feel like there's a little bit of soft pedaling as to we want bullies, but we can't make them the absolute worst. Yeah. And that is just opposite of what the text demands.
That's even granted, like I was not alive in 1976, so I don't know. But was this level of bullying that is displayed in Carrie, was that something that a lot of people could say, yeah, that makes sense? Like, I feel like every time I watch Carrie, I'm like, this is extreme. Like, this is real.
We'd be pressing charges.
As a gay kid who grew up in the suburbs of Houston, Texas, I watched all these Carries and I was like, this is a lot.
I will say, and Gina can speak for her experience, that this is a matter of degrees, what happens in Carrie, because it's all informed by the malicious nature of teenagers in a caste system. Mm-hmm. And then you amplify that by small town, and you amplify that by just the beam is broken in the Stephen King universe, and Carrie has come out with the ability to have telekinesis.
Yeah.
All these things are matters of degrees, but there were kids who just fucking got it. And yes, I was uphill from them, but not by that much. And I got it plenty. I got the shit beat out of me in grade school, in middle school especially, and even in high school.
Middle school's the worst, absolutely. Honestly, a really like true to life Carrie would take place in middle school.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is like when people are peak cruel. Yeah. Because by the time, certainly for me, the worst of it was middle school, and then by high school, I was pretty much just ignored.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, these people are trying to bully me. I'm just going to fucking walk away because I don't have time or patience for it anymore.
The caste system that's always portrayed in so many teen high school movies, that's kind of how I felt my middle school was. Whereas high school, we had cliques, but everyone kind of kept to their own cliques. Like the cliques didn't fight with each other. There was no ranking of. There were people who were well known, but it wasn't like, oh, popular meaning you have power. Whereas that was my experience in middle school.
Well, and I'll confess, one of the things, like, I think that this is very much a Stephen King truism, right? Like, he loves to write teen bullies and even preteen bullies. Like, for me, some of the scariest parts of it, and I've got it on the mind just because we know that we've got this fucking HBO prequel series coming down the pipelines.
Sure,
but it's like middle like middle school or preteen kids with things like switchblades and rocks is way scarier than anything that Chris is doing with this bucket of blood.
Speaking of characters, what is our feeling about the buckets of blood as they are portrayed in both of these movies? Because I feel like 2013 has a real solid element to it. It feels
chunky.
It looks like a bucket of jello.
Okay, the 2002 one is
Paint.
like no, but the amount of blood that falls onto Carrie is 10
it's
buckets
a gallon.
worth. It is 10 buckets worth of blood.
It's not, and it's bizarre because it appears to dry on her immediately.
And such a specific pattern. The pattern here is so delicate and intricate. You can tell that they have 1,000 mock-ups of how she's going to look. And they've created molds so that it only lands on her a certain way. Whereas in Carrie 2002, they paint her face with the exception of her eyes.
She looks like, it reminds me of, remember, you ever seen Wild at Heart?
Oh, yeah.
When Diane Ladd covers her face in lipstick. It kind of looks like that.
It's an intricate pattern.
It's very specific. But I will say, for the record, I think the 2002's bucket is big and heavy enough for me to believe that it goes
Tommy.
a story and a half and knocks
Mary
someone
Poppins
the fuck out.
brought that bucket to the prom. Like,
Oh my God.
The shot of the blood pouring, I was like, this is like 7 seconds. Like, what? What are we doing?
Yeah, Chris basically took a trunk and was like, fill it up because I need all this blood to go down on Carrie.
But the 76 version looks the best. Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the real issue is trying to extricate these movies and view them as their own animals. And they should be viewed as their own animals.
It's hard to. It's impossible to, I would argue.
It's really, really difficult. And it's not like 76 is perfect.
Wow.
But
isn't it? I mean, you're doing an entire
I've come around to its defects as literally being that fairy tale presentation. It goes from fairy tale to dream to nightmare. And it works on a psychological level that it's hard to untangle.
Right.
I'm sorry, y'all. This is a segue, but I am looking at this actress who plays Sue Snell, and I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Who is that person?
Apparently she was the Brooke Shields replacement in the remake of Endless Love in 2014.
Great. Perfect.
Sure.
Glad for her.
But who... Talk about having no screen presence. Poor Gabriella Wilde. I am so sorry. I hope you have a career now that used your talents.
I think she's a model, so she's probably fine. Okay.
Well, it's like what I said before about not having not being terribly interested in Tommy as a character. I don't know that either of these are terribly interested in Sue as a character. When like in the book and to a certain extent the 76 version, she's essentially the secondary protagonist.
Right.
Yeah. Well, but also, I mean, because I think the 2002 one does maybe a better job of the 2013 one of doing this, but in the 1976 one, Sue is there's a whole shot of Sue, very, very explicitly hey, Sue is throwing these tampons at Carrie. She is on equal playing field. Yeah.
Right. And then the rest of it is her dealing with the guilt of that.
Penance.
And her disgust at it being important to fit in with these people. And I think that's a huge and interesting element that is lost in the later adaptations.
I think there's actually an interesting version of this story where it's maybe not entirely, but partially told from Sue's point of view.
Well, because she's a better audience surrogate. We can relate to Carrie, but also I don't think we're meant to. We're supposed to see her as the outsider. your experience could be bad, but it could be Carrie levels of bad. I think
so definitely there's definitely a there but the grace of God go I sort of feeling to Carrie.
Whereas I think Sue Snell is supposed to be like, oh, we're all that person where we've engaged in some bad behavior, but then we walk it back because we feel bad about it, but we're never as bad as a Chris. So it's like, I think, yeah, we're supposed to be Sue in all of these films, but the movies forget it because they're just like, oh, isn't it fun to watch Carrie suffer and then get her revenge?
And as such, Sue is given runway in both the 02 and 13 versions of explaining herself, but I don't think that either one manages to encompass why she is explicitly taken this turn other than regret and guilt. I believe those can be sparks, but they're not the engine of change. What is the engine of change taking her from, I am willing to put up with Chris's shit and do what Chris says, to, fuck it, I'm about to graduate. I don't have to listen to this asshole anymore. I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to give this girl one good high school experience. And that is the motivating factor here. Instead of being an engine for shit, I think there's one thing I can do, and that is get my golden boy boyfriend to take this girl to fucking prom and show her one decent experience.
So what we need in one of these Carrie movies is basically the scene in Batman Returns when Michelle Pfeiffer goes home after being thrown out the window and the cats resuscitate her, and she just trashes her apartment. So Sue goes home and she has her fucking mood board of just all the prom shit and Chris and all the yearbook photos, and she's like, ah! And then she sees a picture of Carrie, and she's like, and then she pulls out her leather and she starts stitching it together.
Yeah.
And in this movie, Chris confronts her your whole life has been about prom isn't just an event. It was you already had a hotel picked out. You had a dress. You had the perfect boyfriend. He's coming to pick you up in a fucking limo. All of this stuff is things that you have made important, and now you're just going to throw it away on Carrie White, and just kind of yeah. And wanders out of her room.
Just okay, I guess.
That to me is a script problem. And that's not so much the actress, because she can only say the words that are on the fucking page.
But no one wanted to clearly step outside of these lines that were so finely drawn by both King's novel and DePalma's adaptation.
It's a tough road to hoe.
Hey, but you know what, though? How about when Billy gets killed, but Chris doesn't die yet, and then she still tries to run over Carrie?
I mean, that is a legitimately great moment. I fucking hate you so much. I know I'm probably going to die, and I'm still going to try to get you.
Because Joe always makes fun of me for this, but whenever a villain or someone horrible dies, I always want them to I want them to be tortured for a little bit. I want them to know,
they have to know
why they are dying. And just, again, the brief seconds of Chris's face being shoved through this windshield and Carrie walking up and just Michael Myersing, tilting her head to look at her as she dies before the explosion even happens.
Always me. I'm doing this to you, and now you see what I'm made of, and you shouldn't have fucked with me.
I think we've all been bullied. We've all talked about our bullying, but I think as someone who has been bullied before, this is the scene I've always wanted to see in a Carrie movie, and as I said, it's why I can never fully write off this version.
Yeah.
My one note is that she should be aware when she lands in the gas, and that she cannot get out because her face is trapped in that glass. And she is too vain to rip her face off to get away from that.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're going to build this story, I need that next step. And someone was like, no, too much. And it's like, why the fuck are you doing this?
Oh my God, it's a saw trap. Somebody do the Jigsaw voice.
Well,
Chris Hartigans, you took your vanity for.
I was thinking of this may be like a far comparison, but in Sean Burns' The Loved Ones, whenever the main girl he's run her over, but she is on the street totally disfigured, still trying to crawl towards him, the boyfriend, to make her his, and she's already dead, basically. But she's still... So we needed Chris to pry her face out of this windshield, jump out of the car, and just crawl towards Carrie.
Right. We need her to step out of the ball of flame like, I'm not giving up yet.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know your order in my life.
Right, exactly. Refusing to accept that she has been beaten.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of deaths, it is time to choose our own deathventure. And that is where we decide of the billions of deaths portrayed over these two movies. If you were forced to die in one of those ways, what the fuck would you possibly choose? Up forbid, you could just get lit on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could be in a car crash. You can have that car wrapped around a telephone pole or thrown into a gas station. You can get crushed by stairs. You can have a basketball hoop and board not only cut you up the back, but then land on top of you. Just
I needed to see
measure.
more blood on that.
Yeah. She
well, you're dealing with TV.
She needed a Final Destination squashing.
Truly, yeah.
Then you can get electrocuted either by holding on to a microphone stand or just standing in a puddle. You can get blown up. You can have a giant moon thrown at your ass. You can get trapped in a burning building. Am I missing? You can trampled.
Oh, yeah. I love a trample.
You can get your arm cut off by an exit door. I like that one.
That was pretty good.
Are we missing anything?
I mean,
I had so many notes.
I guess Margrets.
I was going to say, how does Margaret? Yeah, so heart exploded.
You either get a heart attack crushing or you get crucified.
Yeah.
But this time it doesn't make you come.
Because you've been self-harming too far.
Oh. Right, yeah. Like this is, she doesn't get off on it, whereas 76 Margaret's like, yeah, baby. That's what I've been talking about.
Bringing me closer to God.
That hand of God's a powerful thing.
It sure is.
No.
They don't call it a G-spot for nothing. Anyways, Joe, I choose you to go first.
Me first. Okay. You know what? I'm a dignified guy. So I'm going to take a very respectful, quiet death of being beamed in the head by a giant, 20-gallon bucket of not blood because it's empty at this point. But yeah, just go out gracefully. And, there you miss all of the really horrible stuff, like getting fried, getting burned. That just sounds bad. So I'll just take the easy
Good
way
Night,
out.
Sweet Prince in it is definitely an option. What do you say, Chase?
I'm grabbing that microphone and getting electrocuted to hell. Absolutely. I have something to say, or maybe
I was going to say,
karaoke
Trace takes the mic, of course.
Yeah.
And then kills him.
I have that announcement to make, or I have a karaoke to sing, and I just fry right there. Also, that seems relatively painless.
It might be fast.
True.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, aside from all of the liquids in your body becoming electricity, I'm sure that's not fun. Gina, what say you?
Yeah, I want to take Tommy's way out too. Like I said, again, it's quick. Everybody seems pretty sad about his death. So that's
they weren't sad because of the way he died.
I know, but they were sad because he was a nice person.
Getting hit by a bucket doesn't make you a nice person.
I disagree.
I was a nice person before that.
The bucket is tragic. The bucket makes it tragic.
I mean, he's just standing there, and
Yeah, poor guy.
I don't look good in a tux. A closed shirt like that seems to do bad things to my neck. So I'm going with Margaret O2's heart cracking, where it just gets snapped in two, and she's like, "Oops, that's all she wrote," and she doesn't even know that she's gone.
Does she grab? I feel like she grabs her heart at some point, right? Does she grab?
Well, she kind of does, but I feel like she's more lamenting. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have committed infanticide and tried to drown my daughter.
I have a few regrets.
I have regrets. Wait,
I regret my choice.
But wait, that is how Margaret dies in the book, though, right? Margaret, she heart squeezes her. Okay.
She heart squeezes her, which I think you can make dramatic in prose form, but as witnessed here is difficult to make sing. And the reason why it was changed in the 76 version.
Well, certainly not with that 2002 NBC TV CGI that we used for that heart.
Absolutely. So before we cast our whims and head off to prom together, where can people find you on these here internets and what you got going on, boys?
Well, we are in the middle of Pride. So Trace and I are actually doing a couple of guest spots. So you can actually catch us. If you're listening to those immediately, you can watch us at Sohome Horror Fest. It's a virtual queer film festival that's happening in the UK. But we're doing a live audio commentary of Scream 3 so people can come and engage with us. And then we're also doing Chattanooga Film Festival. So we're just going to be part of their YouTube offerings. And we have a guest episode on Witches of Eastwick.
Fantastic. Check it out. And of course, I can't recommend Horror Queers enough. It is a weekly ritual for me, and I enjoy you both so very much. And so pleased that you can be part of the Kill by Kill family and us yours. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television and pop culture on my Substack, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com, and I am on Blue Sky and Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for the entirety of season 6. For myself, for Joe, for Trace, for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Always so fresh, delicious, and nutritious, Eggland's Best Eggs fuel the body with 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, and 25% less saturated fat compared to ordinary eggs. Visit egglandsbest.com to learn more.
Hey y'all, life's journey is filled with change, growth, and exciting new chapters. Whether you're welcoming a new family member, stepping into a new city, or chasing after your biggest dreams, you need a ride that's built with more space for the grand challenges ahead. The Toyota Grand Highlander is made for those who embrace every twist and turn. With advanced safety features, innovative tech, and a bold, sophisticated design, it's the SUV that adapts with you with room to spare. This spacious beauty seats up to 8, gives you up to 97.5 cubic feet of cargo space, and has a diverse engine lineup, available in gas or hybrid options, including the powerful 362 horsepower Hybrid Max. Plus, available all-wheel drive means you'll have confidence no matter where life takes you. Ready to take on your dreams? The Grand Highlander is more than a vehicle. It's your partner in embracing all life throws at you. From daily routines to unexpected adventures, it's up for every grand challenge. Learn more at toyota.com/Grand Highlander. Toyota, let's go places.